guys, welcome back to my episode. Start again. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. That's much better. Today's episode, we're going to be talking about what if you don't get the job. On my Instagram, I said to you guys, what should I talk about in my next video? A few people said rejection, like what happens when you don't get the job with Emirates. And I actually think that this is applicable to when you don't get the job anywhere that you've applied for. What we have to remember is that when there's a number of spots to be filled and this amount of people apply, it's not always going to be a guarantee. You know, everyone can be just as good as each other, and what they use is, I guess, statistics. They hire based on their needs. Sometimes what separates you from other people isn't really based on your skill set. Maybe what it could have been is the type of language that you speak, because they needed this amount of speakers. What you should know is even the way that they schedule flights and the amount of specific language speakers that they need on a flight, the amount of female to male ratio, that's all calculated based on the needs of that flight, and that's very similar to how they hire. So I guess that's the baseline of all of this. The real question, what do you do if you don't get hired? I mean, you have two options really: to try again or to not try again. The end. Hope you enjoyed it. No, just kidding. The reason I say you try again is because I think that if you really want something and that's really what you see in your life and you haven't had enough of trying, try again. I actually know some people who applied for the job. There was a girl in my batch who had applied 4 times in 3 different cities. On the 5th time, that's when she got it, and that is when we became batchmates. Funnily enough, that person ended up quitting after 1 year, but that's another story. I guess you're probably asking, like, how many times do you try? I think that's completely up to you. You can try 5 times, 8 times, however many times, and every time you go, you're like, oh, I picked this up from that experience. This is what I'm going to do differently. Oh, I picked this up from that experience. This is what I'm going to do differently. It might even be a situation where you've applied here and you didn't have enough work experience, or you applied this time and the answer of your interview wasn't quite a match. It can be that, and so you keep on going and keep on going until you either get the job or you get sick of trying. Here's my experience with failure and rejection, and I'll be honest with you, I'd never really been in a situation where, you know, I made it through the interview and then after the interview I didn't get it. Not in the airline industry anyway. However, in my current life, this is my life after Emirates, one of the things that I wanted the most was a successful career in marketing. My degree is in communications and media, and I had some freelance marketing experience. So in my mind, I was very eligible, even though they're not completely aligned. I don't know, I was living in this kind of fantasy world where I just thought that's how the world worked. You know, after 7 years of flying, my understanding of reality was a little bit skewed and distorted. But saying that, in my mind, I was very well and eligible to get a position in corporate marketing. As a matter of fact, you'll probably laugh at me when I say this, I applied for all different levels of marketing. I applied for executive, marketing manager, marketing junior, assistant to the marketing executive, like all these roles. I'm pretty sure I got rejected. My resume wouldn't even make it in. So when I applied through the HR departments, I would just get an email saying thank you, but no thanks. And then there were 2 times that my resume was accepted. They were for 2 jobs that I really wanted. Of course, by now I wanted them even more because I had experienced all these rejections. The first one, I made it into the interview. This job was sort of like a mid-level marketing role, and after the interview they even gave me an assignment. I worked long and hard on that assignment. I had to make a presentation. Oh god, there was just so many things that I did for that presentation, and I worked like, I don't know, 14-15 hours on it for turnaround time in like 24 hours. It was for marketing in a corporate travel agency. Yep, didn't get the role. I was one of the final interviewees. And then the second one was it was another, it was for, do you know what it was for? It was for Top Deck. I was one of the final 3, and they also asked for a project. So I submitted my thing, made the project, then I made it to the final interview. And in that interview, phew, oh my god, it was so embarrassing that by the end of it, I knew I wasn't going to get the job, because they asked me a lot about experience and I just didn't have anything to say about experience. And I said to one of the guys, there was 2 guys, and I was like, if I don't get this job, I'd love an internship. And as soon as that came out of my mouth, I was like, Christine, calm down. Like, you haven't been rejected yet, and you're already telling them that you know you're rejected. And I was just like this desperate moment, and it was just bad. And then I came home and I felt like shit, and then I messaged my friends and I had to tell them what it was that I said. That was so embarrassing. I was devastated. These were the last 2 jobs where I was like, fuck, I've tried like 40 times, 40 applications plus, and all different resumes, all different cover letters. I tried all different things and I just wasn't getting it. So then I stopped. So when I say you try as much as you want to try, keep going, maybe sometimes it's just timing, or maybe it's just not for you. What do you do if you decide to stop trying, or what do you do when you decide that, hey, maybe this isn't for you? There's nothing I can really say to change the result. All I could say is that everything happens, I'm sorry, it's cliche, everything does happen for a reason, and everything happens in good time. What you should know is this: if I had gotten any one of those jobs, I would not be doing what I do today, which is number 1, YouTube, which I love. Number 2, actually be my own boss. Eventually what I had to do was I had to look back and be like, why do I want this job so much? Why do I want this job so much? I don't know. I just wanted to use my mind more. I knew that I had potential. I knew that I was good at this, like innately. Marketing. I feel like it's innate to me. That's why I wanted the job. I don't know if I ever told you this, but after that I took up odd jobs. One of them, I'll tell you, I had a really strange boss. I was underpaid, working under a really strange boss, but the thing was I hadn't really worked for anyone other than him, so I just thought that, is this what all bosses are like? Is this what it's going to be like if I work with a boss? It was just me and the boss and like the other staff who I had to manage, and I never saw the other staff. And then I tried to open up a photography business, but then I realized like, oh, I'm too lonely in this job. Like, a photography business is really nice when you have friends. It's just nice if you have something to do with your free time. But at that time I didn't have any friends. Oh my god, my life sucked at the time. I mean, the only reason you would want freedom is to do something that you loved or enjoyed. At that time, I didn't know what I loved, I didn't know what I enjoyed, I didn't have any friends, didn't have any family around me. So I was like, alright, so now I've got this business, and now I've got this free time, what am I gonna do with it? And I said to myself, after I quit Emirates, I promised I would never go back into aviation. I was kind of like, been there, done that, don't want to go back there. And my partner kept on saying to me, babe, if this airline opens, would you go for it? And I kept on saying no, like no. But then a new department was opened and I said, I mean, this situation is bad anyway, so let me just do that. I'll apply. And sure enough, I got it because my aviation background matched this. I specifically joined that job because I knew that I was unhappy and I didn't have any friends, and so I thought at the very least the purpose of this job is I'll make friends and then we'll go from there. It was a job at a call center. It was, do you know what's crazy? I actually loved it. I loved it because I had never had a job, like it had been 10 years since I had a job with routine, so I'd never experienced what it's like to get up the same time of the day, go to the same office, see the same people, go home and look forward to weekends. I was like, oh, this is the thing that people talk about, like weekends. That brought new meaning to what it was that I was doing. And in that time I was like, I remember one of my night shifts, I said to my friend who was there, we were stalking someone on the internet. It's so bad. And this person started with like 0 followers, and all of a sudden they had lots of followers. I knew now what the perks of having following was about. I had worked with some Instagram models before as their photographer, so I knew how great that life could be. Yeah, because you get sponsorships, you can get whatever you want if you build it well. And obviously this person built it well, but I knew them from when they had 0, so I was like, oh, if they're doing it and they have followers, and you know, I can do it. And then I said, okay, I'm gonna do it. And it wasn't really about followers, but in a kind of way, the immediate thought that happened there was like, of all these jobs that I've been rejected, if I can just show people that I know what I'm doing when it comes to marketing, then I have the opportunity. It's like a second handshake, you know, because bosses these days, I knew that bosses these days, once you get to the next level of the interviews, of course they've got to stalk you on the internet to find out what kind of person you really are. And so I said, okay, what I'm going to do on my YouTube channel is I'm going to show that I know how to present, I know how to communicate, I know how to explain things, and to top it off, I know how to market myself. You know, I'm gonna brand myself. Personal branding, this is what it's gonna be. And that's what I did, and that was the most natural thing that had happened to me since I quit Emirates. That sounds really strange, but that was the most natural thing. My marketing job was like up here. That was like my goal. I just thought that that would solve all of my problems and I would live this great life. I had to really lean into what was inside, which was like, hey, look, I've got to make friends. And that is why I was rejected. Only now do I know that that is why I was rejected, but back then it just felt like punch to the guts, like every single time, like I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, I'm not good enough, why are they good enough? Like, why did I make those choices in my life? Why did I stay cabin crew for so long? Why did I not just go for this? If you wanted to become cabin crew and you're comparing yourself to anyone who actually made it into the next level, you're probably going, why didn't I wear that outfit? Why didn't my resume look like that? Why didn't I speak like that? Why did I give myself such a hard time when these people don't even care? Because sometimes the people who look like they don't care are the ones who make it through, right? And that was the same with me. Like, I applied for so many jobs just because I thought that there was a job out there that was for me. And no, every time I got the email, like my heart would go stop and get excited because I got the email, open the email, it's like, no. Even more so when you make it to the final interview and you're like, what did they have that I didn't have? And only now can I see that it wasn't what they had versus what I didn't have. Like, okay, maybe at the time it was disguised as they have more experience. Oh, they're more suited to the role. Just so many things that are logical. Of course, that's the world that we work in. It has to be logic. However, when we say things happen for a reason, those roles just weren't for me. Because if I had gotten those roles, I wouldn't be doing what I do now. When I wasn't getting what I wanted, what I had conceived was best for me, I had to just lean in towards my passions and try to aim for that. Turns out this is way more fulfilling. Life goals and life experiences are way more fulfilling than what you think will solve your problem over here. If I wasn't forced to come up with a plan B, I would be over here with plan A, going to the same job every morning, every night, coming home, doing the weekends. And that's not a bad thing, but I mean, I quite like my life at the moment as it is. Had I gotten the job, I wouldn't have this community because I probably wouldn't have turned to YouTube as a contingency plan. What I really wanted to say is that if you didn't get the job that you applied for, that you worked so very hard for and envisioned yourself, you know, they say you see it and then it'll become real. You know, you've done all the things that you could do leading up to that moment and it didn't work out. That's okay, because you can always try again. Always try again until you're satisfied with how many trials you've had or until you got the job. I mean, I don't know if that's the answer that you're looking for, whether you want me to say, you know, like change your resume, change your hairstyle, wear a different outfit, maybe act like you care less, something like that. But I really can't, because even if I say that, that doesn't guarantee that you're gonna go. But all I can tell you is that if you want it, try again. Maybe now wasn't your time. But if you decide that you want to stop trying, the next best thing that you can do is start to lean in and try to understand, why did you want that so bad? Because the reason why we want things so bad generally is because we have a problem that we want to solve. Maybe you're not happy in your existing job and your environment and you think that going over there is going to fix it. Sort of look into that, because it was like me, you know, like when I was at Emirates, towards the end of my time there, I really did feel as though I wasn't feeling well anymore. I wasn't, you may or may not have already seen my last video, but I was developing anxiety and depression. I wasn't aware of it too, but I was changing, and I could only blame my environment for it so much until I realized I have control over my environment. I have to change my environment, so I must leave. So if you're currently like in a workplace that you don't like, either you leave that job and get another one, or you get another job and then you leave that job, or you change what's going on in here and your perception of your reality. If it's something where you're kind of like, I want to experience a different side to life, you know, most of the time I believe that happens because you are ready to grow as a person. I don't think that we were put on this earth to just go like linear, like this, right? Like this is you when you were born, and this is when you were an adult, and this is when you did that job until you retired and died. I don't believe that is our purpose and what we're supposed to do. I believe that it's supposed to kind of go like this and then up like this and out like this and then It's like staircase. I feel that that's what life is supposed to be about. Somebody asked me actually on Instagram. I developed quite a relationship with people on Instagram because it's like right there, you know, you can answer each other. And they said to me, so is what you're doing so much better than flight attending? And I can't say that it's better, not in the way that one of them is better than the other, because flight attending is different. It's like comparing apples and oranges. Oh, that's so cliche, but it kind of is. What I will say is this. I thought about the answer long and hard. In my first 2 years of Emirates, actually it only took me about 6 months and my first 12 months to realize that I wanted to leave already. Not that I was ungrateful, but I am saying that in the duties of flight attending, I was already at the beginning kind of going, I'm interested in doing something else. And that is why I started taking up hobbies, is because I was no longer fulfilled in just my job. We look for fulfilling jobs and then you get the job and then you're surprised. You're like, oh, this wasn't as fulfilling as I thought it was. And my gateway to fulfillment was hobbies. I didn't actually know what I loved at the time other than travel, so I had to experiment. I had no idea that I liked photography. It's a long story, but I will tell you the short version. I used to import clothes from like Asia, sell in Australia, and at the time I was like, how am I going to sell this? And I thought I could hire a photographer or I could just buy a camera because the camera is cheaper than a photographer, then I can do it over and over again. And it was through that I discovered that I love photography and I'm not bad at it. So I found fulfillment through hobbies. And then when I felt like the hobbies weren't enough, that's when I started to think about how to monetize those hobbies, because I thought, oh, if I monetize, aka make money out of my hobbies, then I can sort of build a different life. Going back to what I said earlier, with Emirates, it only took me about a year to start feeling unfulfilled. There's not one portion of the last 2 years that I have felt unfulfilled. Lost? Yes, I've felt lost. Uncertain? Yes, I've felt uncertain, because my reality is based on what I create as a business owner and sort of entrepreneur. My reality, everything that exists around me, is based on what I create and how I grow forward and upwards. It's very fulfilling. I say that with complete like hand to heart. Somewhere along the lines I started to realize that it's not so much the destination that I'm like gunning for, but the fact that I enjoy this every day. I see what I'm growing, and it's like a little, like when I started, it started like a little tiny seedling, like a little chia seed. I put it in the ground, and now it's sprouted and it's really, really nice. When it comes to fulfillment, I do feel more fulfilled, also because I have a lot more clarity of what's important to me and where this is all going. Not just where this is all going, but how this contributes to my life today. I think that if you don't get the job right away, I said it before and I'll say it again, try again. Whoever said there's enough tries? And if it isn't for you, there's probably something out there that's greater for you. Have a look at why you want it so much. Generally, there is a solution for what it is that you actually want. You know, what you wanted that job to solve, there are many other types of solutions which may not be that job, but may be just as great or even better for you. Hope you liked this episode. If you did, give it a thumbs up, and if you haven't already subscribed to my channel, please do. If you have any comments or questions, of course, as always, type them in the comment section below. Bye!